John Lusk here at Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. Thanks so much for tuning in here once again. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell so you can be notified whenever I post a new video. I've got a lot of videos dropping here in the upcoming weeks and months, and hopefully a bunch of successful bow hunts of mine as well. So thanks for your support and your encouragement, your comments. I really appreciate your critiques. I appreciate that as well. I view this as like a collaboration thing and love all of the input that you may have. So today I'm going to be testing another Sevr model called the Robusto. When I hear that Robusto, I always want to just kind of say, Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Okay, some of you old timers know what I'm talking about there in that song, but Robusto, Roboto. Anyway, this is marketed as a crossbow broadhead, but it can easily and very effectively be used through a vertical bow as well. So I'm going to be putting it to the test using all of my regimen for 2022. And for a description of that regimen, you can just see it in the description box right below this video. Just click on the title of the video if you're on your phone, and then you can read all about it as well as see the scores of how it performed in each of the areas that I'm testing. But I'm going to be using my my Bowtech CP28 for most of the shots. I use the SR6 for one of them, and then I'm also using a Bishop FOC King arrows for most of the shooting, but then I'm using the Bishop Fat Eliminators for the really hard impact ones because they're just so incredibly durable. But let's check out this Robusto broadhead. Here's a good look at the Robusto. Man, this is a sleek, cool looking broadhead. They call it their crossbow model, but it's just as effective and efficient and can easily be used with vertical bows as well. It's the same blade deployment system, so it'll work great out of vertical bows. It's just 150 grains. So you have to account for that extra 25 grains if you use 125 grain heads, or extra 50 grains if you use 100 grain heads. But that increases your FOC a little bit, increases your momentum a little bit. So I kind of like that extra bit of weight in the 150 grain. But again, it's specifically marketed for crossbows, can be used with either. The blades are held in place really strongly by this silicone O-ring. And it's a really thin ring, but it's silicone, so it doesn't dry rot, it doesn't freeze. They're really nice in that regard. So you can see the overall profile is super small in the closed position. That's what makes these one of the very best flying heads there is. Like, all of the Sevrs fly incredibly well. And in this model, the Robusto, everything is stainless steel, whereas in the 2.0 and the 1.5, the ferrule is made out of titanium. Here, it's all stainless steel. And the tip, by my measurements, has a 0.33 inch cut that way. And then the blades, when fully deployed, have 2 inches of cut that way. So overall, 2.33 inches. It's a pretty nice cut. Now you'll notice there's this this little hole for a set screw right there. They come with a set screw. It's in the cap of each individual pack of a broadhead, and you just screw that in, and what that does is it keeps the blades in the closed position. So you can practice with them and shoot the very broadhead that you're going to be shooting in the closed position, and the blades aren't contacting the target at all. So that's kind of nice. You just got to remember to take out that set screw before you go hunting, or you're going to be really disappointed, okay? Because the blades won't open like that. And when you're practicing with it, you don't need, if you have that screw in there, you don't need to use the O-ring and waste your O-rings there, okay? So the way it works is these little wing butts here, as I put them, these deployment arms, these are blunt. They're angled forward, and as they press on a medium, like say the hide, they call it a pre-stretch, okay? They push against the hide, and it like indents the hide just a little bit, and then the blades spring open, and it gets a bit bigger cut than just the advertised 2 inches. That's the theory of it. But you can see the pressure causes that O-ring to expand right there, and it slides back or it cuts off, and then the blades come into their open position and they lock in this open position. And that's one of the things that's really unique about the Sevr is the blades do lock. They have this little mechanism in the back where the two blades butt up against each other and they come into this lock position. Now what that does is it means even if there's not pressure pushing the blades, they're still going to stay in that open position, in that 2 inches of cut position like that. Whereas most gator blades, if there's not pressure, they're just going to collapse. They're just going to go back down. These won't. Another thing that it does is it allows the blades to pivot, and that's kind of Sevr's claim to fame is, you know, cut straight through it, they say. A lot of times what happens with a 2-blade head, especially in a big mechanical, is as it penetrates, if one of the blades hits a heavy bone, it can cause a deflection, and the arrow can really drastically change direction. And you may think, I put a perfect shot on it. You watch the arrow go in a perfect direction, perfect way, but then it changes direction within the animal because of that deflection, and you can end up losing the animal. So this pivot allows it to hit a bone like that, and the blade just folds back and it stays on course. So that's kind of nice that it does that. Now, you're not going to get as much of a cut if that blade goes back. However, you're going to get more than just that one blade like this, because the blade's going to stick out. So you're not going to get the whole cut, but you're going to get quite a bit of cut. And then as there's any pressure, these swing so freely and they don't stay closed. So as there's any pressure put on either side, it's just going to open up the other blade. So it's really quickly going to get back in the upright position, the fully open position there. Now, one of the negatives of this, one of the drawbacks can be, and everything in Broadhead design is a trade-off, one of the negatives can be if it hits a bone, like on one side, right before it exits, then you might get an exit with just this cutting diameter. Now, you're still getting the 0.33 inches this way, and then this, you're getting more than 1 inch, so probably about 1.25 inches there because it's sticking straight out, but you could get a smaller exit hole than that total cutting diameter if one of the blades is pushed back like that right before it exits. But if it's not right before, then it's going to get right back into its fully open position. But that's a trade-off. You get the straightness like that and the extra durability because the blades aren't absorbing a lot of energy, you know, if one blade is hit. But then you might get a smaller exit. I've taken so many animals with it. I've seen that happen one time where I had like 1.25 inch exit hole to it. So it really was inconsequential as far as harvesting the animal. Now, another cool thing about these blades locking that a lot of people don't understand about the Sevr is that they interlock right back here, and they interlock at an angle. So they're touching back there, so they're you know, they can't close this way. Now, they're not considered barbed because the blades can pull back that way. So they're not barbed, but they are locked like that. However, in a really hard impact, if one blade hits a hard thing, it's just going to pivot away. If both blades at the same time hit something really hard, then that's where the beauty of this design comes in, because there's a slight angle to where these two meet, and one of them will be forced over the other. It takes a lot of pressure to do it, but it'll absorb just enough energy that it largely keeps the blades from breaking. I've never had a blade break, even no matter what I shoot them through. I've shot them through, you know, so many different things. I've never had a Sevr blade break, largely because of the way it absorbs the energy. Or if one blade's hit, it's going to pivot. If both blades hit, then it's going to absorb that energy. Now, what happens when it does that, if it has a really hard impact, is those blades slide over each other, and then you go, hey, I can't get them back open, and they're kind of hard to pull apart this way. Sometimes I take like a rubber end of a handle of 2 pairs of pliers and put it under there and pull them apart to get them unsnapped, and then they get back to normal like that. But that's kind of a cool design for both the pivoting action to stay straight and the extra durability if one blade's hit, and the extra durability if both blades have a hard impact like that. So the blades are 0.032 inches thick, so pretty average thickness to the blades. But again, because of that design feature, they've proven over the years pretty durable. Now, you notice also there's a little divot here in the blades. That's just where the O-ring goes, okay? It's not like there's a chip in the blade. That's not because it contacted the ferrule or anything. That's just where the O-ring goes, so it doesn't cut through the O-ring. Now, to get them closed, you know, sometimes people think it's harder than it is. I just like to close one of the blades like this, and I put my finger over it. I'm not even really touching the blade. And then with my thumbnail, I push up on one of those little ends of the blades, and then the other one just slides under it. They come with a little plastic tool. You can do that, a little wedge, but it's just as easy to do it with your nail like that. And then there it is in the closed position. So opened and it pops. You can hear a little snap, and then closed. Just hold one down, push the other one under, and then there you are in the closed position. So a lot of cool features, a lot of great upsides, you know, some challenges in that pivoting, you know, that it might make the cut a little bit smaller, or the blades can kind of lock into each other, and that can make them kind of hard to pull apart. Sometimes they're a pain to close, you know, especially till you get used to doing it like that. But really intriguing design. Super eager to put this Robusto to the test and see how it performs. $200. It penetrated 6.5 inches. And I know it doesn't look like that, but if you look closely, you can see this thing that happens with the gel. There's a cut that goes in front of the tip that extends about an inch, inch and a half beyond where the final resting place. And with gel, it shoots forward and then kind of compresses back sometimes. And that's what happened. So it penetrated 6.5 inches, and the blades opened very well and stayed opened. They're at an angle, and so it looks like they're pretty close, but they're actually their full cutting position. $225. It penetrated through 54 layers. You can see that the blades opened up almost to their full cutting diameter of 2 inches on impact. And the blades locked open, as you can see, the impact into the target right behind the cardboard box here. It's in perfect condition after going through the MDF 3 times. And it's still in really good condition after going through the steel plate 2 times. And then here's the holes in the steel plate as well. So here's the Robusto after all the durability tests. So it's gone through the MDF and the steel plate, held together very well through all of those. The blades are in really excellent shape. But in the concrete, okay, it's stuck, first of all, which was really impressive. But you see that it did get a bend to it. It's kind of got that bird in flight approach, okay? It looks kind of like a Concorde jet, you know? It's kind of cool. The tip is actually really pointy, got a tiny bit of a curl to it, but stayed together really well. Obviously, it's not reusable with that kind of a bend, yet it held together relatively well, considering that's like 750 grains being shot out of a 72-pound bow at 5 yards into cinder block. So for that to hold together, stick in the cinder block, even to have that kind of damage is pretty impressive durability, especially for a mechanical. So what do you think of the Robusto? Man, I tell you, it's another winner of a Broadhead by Sevr. I love their 1.5. I love the 2.0, and I like this all-steel Robusto as well. I like the sleek design to it. That tip penetrates just a little bit better. I like that it's all steel. You get a little bit of extra FOC and momentum by being 150 grains. I was a little surprised that it bent and buckled a bit when it stuck in the concrete. Now, again, it did stick in the concrete. Okay, a lot of mechanicals don't do that. A lot of fixed blades can't do that. It did hold together, but it's the first time that I've shot any Sevr into concrete and had it experience a bend like that. So I don't know if it just hit extra hard part in the concrete or what, but still overall the durability It was just incredible, and its performance was really, really good. It actually got an even higher score than the Sevr 2.0. The 2.0 had gotten the highest score of any Broadhead, mechanical or fixed, that I tested so far in 2022, and now the Robusto just replace that as like the highest score. You know, there's one thing I wish, actually there's a few things I wish were different with the Sevr, but the main thing is I wish these deploying arms didn't cover up some of the blade. You know, you leave it open and you go, hey, how come those blades or these little deploying arms are sticking out like that? And you know, people ask me that question all the time, and yet at the same time, I would think that would impede the penetration, and yet it doesn't. You know, it penetrates quite well. And I think, you know, everything in Broadhead designs, like I say all the time, is a trade-off. And the benefit of having that mechanism that causes the blades to deploy properly and interlock is, you know, that's the benefit, that interlocking, pivoting, and that strong shock absorbing nature of that. The drawback is it covers up some of the blades, and yet in terms of penetration, total cut size, bloodletting, and so forth, it really hasn't proven to be any kind of a problem. But anyway, check out the score sheet and see how this head performed in the areas that matter to you the most. Oh, and Sevr is one of the companies that's given me a discount code. And so I say it all the time when I test a Sevr or hunt with them. If you type in LUSK5, LUSKFIVE, when you check out, then you get $5 off any order. And you can use it on top of any of the other special sales that they have going on. So hey, $5 isn't a lot, but it's $5, right? Why not benefit from it? But anyway, I love this head. Check out the score sheet. See how it performed in the areas that matter to you the most. And again, props to Sevr. You guys are doing a fantastic job.